Hi guys, I hope you're all well. So as you can see, I've just this second finished painting these awesome looking orcs. And you may notice, yeah, they are teeny tiny. This is 10mm scale, which is something I seem to be getting or leaning more and more towards. Because one thing I'm always saying is I don't have a lot of room. So playing at this size is just awesome. You can have huge armies, don't take up much room, and don't need a big board to play them. These miniatures were sent to me by Spellcrow, who have kindly sponsored the video as well. And they're for the game Argatoria, which looks pretty cool. I'll tell you more details about that in a minute. But as you can see, they come in these little packs, which definitely reminded me of, well, the first miniatures I ever bought, and that was way back in 1983. Obviously, used to come in little packs like this, but they were metal back then. Obviously, times have changed, so these are now plastic, which is pretty cool because it means, well, bits aren't going to break if I drop them. But say the scale of these, 10mm, but the amount of detail they've been able to put into these is absolutely amazing. These are all hand sculpted and then obviously cast in resin. But they look absolutely beautiful. Obviously, they are orcs, so instantly I'm kind of hooked because, well, I just love these green skinned little guys. And I think they're just amazing. Come in little bases, and the bases obviously you can put little magnets in to attach them to a bigger sort of board so you can move more and more around at once. To say these are from Spellcrow, and these are the Army of Sale. This is where I'm going to say some wrong words even. I can't even get that out. But as you can see, yeah, you can build and amass huge armies, which I love the idea of. But say you don't need to have a big old gaming board to play it. So these are say from the game Argatoria. I'm going to leave some links down below, guys, so you can find out more about the miniatures, more about the actual game as well. There's a free sort of PDF you can download just so you can get a little gist of what the game's all about. Obviously, it is a nice big skirmish game, and there's a whole variety of different sort of, well, kind of factions you get. Absolutely love the artwork as well on this thing. I've had a quick read through the rules, I watched a couple of videos, and yeah, it does seem like the kind of game that I would definitely play as it's an easy one to pick up. And obviously, I need ones that are easy to pick up. So say, click on the links down below, guys. Check out the other sort of factions they do. Obviously, Orcs is always going to be my big favourite, but I will need another team to play against. And I believe there's 7 currently. All look absolutely awesome. A whole variety of miniatures from sort of small little people to, well, larger animals that obviously you can ride and all the rest of it. But say the amount of detail they've been able to put into these packs is absolutely amazing. They also sent me these. It's another sort of game that they do. And it's Umbra Turris. So these miniatures are obviously a larger scale. But again, they're orcs, so I couldn't resist. Yeah, I'm going to paint them alongside the 10mm. It's always a nice sort of comparison to sort of see the two sizes and how easy or not it is to paint both. Yeah, both the miniatures. So say they come in these little packs. They do obviously. Oh, they are on these little bases, but that's how they've been cast. So we need to cut them off first. But it does say on the pack these do need washing, or it's advisable to give them a little bit of a wash in some soapy water. Obviously, you don't have to spend long doing this. It is a case of putting them in. Quick little rub. I'm using me dry brush here, and it's a good way of cleaning the dry brush. So yeah, give them a quick little wash. Obviously, to make sure that any paints you do afterwards will sort of adhere perfectly to them. But say, yeah, don't spend too long doing that. And then it is a case of, say, cutting these off. So these are, say, cast in resin, so these aren't 3D printed in any way. And all these miniatures, say, these are hand sculpted. And then obviously a casts made of them, which I think is amazing. Say the size of these, but the amount of detail in these is great because obviously I'm going to be doing the good old Slapchop painting technique. And that obviously always works well when there's more sort of detail, more nooks and crannies for the paints to sort of go in and give us that lovely sort of contrast detail. So yeah, so it's easy enough to cut this plastic. It's nice and soft. And I say that is good because if you do drop these, you're not going to lose or break off little weapons or any of that kind of stuff. So cut the bottoms off and then give them a little light sanding. Make sure it's nice and smooth because obviously these will be put on the bases. So the packs do come with the bases that you need. And as I say, there's a little slot there for a magnet to go in, which is pretty cool because you can group up your armies. So these little chaps, they are obviously the grunts of the army. So we get 2 on each base. Again, full rules. There's a link down below to get more information. But again, this is where even the bases that come with the things, I like flatter bases because obviously when I make my little miniatures up, put them on the board, I like it so you can't see the base. So yeah, I just 3D printed the base, stuck a magnet in the middle, just so I can obviously then attach it to something so I can move around more of the miniatures a lot easier. Obviously, you say use the bases that come with it because they're obviously perfect. But yeah, I've always got in my mind with these miniatures, I want them to look almost like a diorama. So I can put these on the board that I've already got. And yeah, you just can't see the bases. So okay, they're the little grunts. I've also got a little pack of heroes. So they come on bases on their own. Again, the bases have got magnets in. So I've done exactly the same thing, just because I say I want everything to look uniformed, sort of neat and tidy, and all the rest. But yeah, so these guys, they're the heroes. So they have bigger and better stats than the little grunts, as you can see. Wizard orcs. Yeah, it can't get any better than an orc that's a wizard, which is pretty cool. So with the bases, obviously when I stick them on, you can notice obviously a big difference in the height from the little chap there. He's on a little base himself. So I'm just going to sort of raise up the base around him by putting some good old little sand in base. So a little bit of glue, a little bit of sand, and then yeah, that'll hide sort of the base that the little chap was on. So as I say, I'm going to be painting the larger miniatures for the other game, the Umbra Turris, at the same time. Again, you better find out links from that by the main link to the Spellcrow site if you want to find out more details about those miniatures. But again, these ones, I absolutely love how these. So this is where I've missed orcs. I do love orcs. I love obviously fantasy stuff. I love army stuff, and orcs have always been my favourite, just because they're big, chunky. They wear a bit of armour, but you can see all their lovely muscles. So everything's on my little painting handles, and as you can see, yeah, got my painting tray. Again, this just makes things a lot easier when I'm sort of moving things around, which is pretty cool. So in the front row, there's all the little grunts, and the ones at the back, obviously the heroes. And I'm going to keep saying this so many times. The detail in these things is insane. I say for the small size, then 10mm ones, absolutely perfect. So as always, I'm going to be Slapchop painting these, so I'm going to prime them in black. Yeah, Colourforge matte black. Been using that for years. Again, all links down below. And yeah, so say I have done some 10mm sort of miniatures before. I think once, maybe twice. I'm not too sure. But I must admit, I am loving and leaning more towards 10mm size. Um, Purely because, say, it takes up a whole lot less room. You can have more of them on the board. And yeah, I just really like this size and the fact you can get so much detail in these miniatures. It is just insane. Obviously, when you spray them in the black, you lose all of that. You can't see it at all. But then when you do the dry brushing with white, yeah, you can instantly see, say, all that lovely definition in these miniatures, which is great to say because we've been doing the Slapchop painting. If these miniatures didn't have a lot of definition, yeah, speed paints would look really, really bland and drab. You really need those nooks and crannies for the paint to go into, just so you get a nice high contrast with all the look of the painting miniatures. So yeah, they're all dry brushed, looking good. Now ready for the easy step. This is why I love painting these days. It is easy now, using speed paints, contrast paints, dipping inks, whichever ones it is you may use. They really do all the work. So for this, yeah, I got a pack of these real cheap brushes. I can't remember where I got them from. I think I got a pack of about 36 for about £5. It was insane. And yeah, I'm gonna have a go at using these. So painting small miniatures, I'm gonna paint with a small brush. But the thing I like about this brush, obviously it is thin and it's nice and long because you don't want to get too much paint on the paintbrush. Because obviously, yeah, it's really difficult to control it. So this is obviously where it is a lot different painting 10mm scale. You really do need less paint on your brush and just take it slowly and carefully. But say even painting at this scale, it was it was a lot of fun. Um, so much fun. There's a few bits I kind of forget to film because I really got into the zone of just sitting at my desk, painting away, really enjoying the look of these miniatures and then just enjoying how easy and quick it was to paint. I say even though they are really really small, and sometimes I do have to hold the miniatures quite close to my face for me to be able to sort of do this. I do keep contemplating getting like one of those big magnifying glasses with a light rim If any of you guys use those, by all means, let me know. Obviously, I wear glasses, so sometimes I do have to put these quite near to my face because I'm long-sighted, which is obviously a bit of a pain for this hobby because it means anything sort of 2 feet and less. Yeah, it's a little bit out of focus and blurry for me without the glasses. But I do see the big magnifying glasses that people use, or even the ones that you put on your head. But I'm not sure if I'd want them on my head or not. But yeah, guys, I'm waffling. If any of you guys use any of those kind of things, let me know your experience of them, and maybe let me know a link to wherever it is you get, just 'cause I may look into that because that might help. Even though I didn't have too much problems with these miniatures, being able to see obviously a lot clearer and a lot larger, yeah, might help a little bit. But yeah, so these guys, being so small, the paints, yeah, it's going into those recesses, nooks and crannies really well. And as you can clearly see here, there's definitely a nice sort of contrast between the lighter parts of the green to the darker. So like I always do, especially with armies, I am batch painting. So painting all the miniatures sort of together. This does make things so much quicker, so much easier, and there's less paint sort of wasted because obviously you do one color, you go through every miniature, and obviously these are green skins. So yeah, there's a lot of green because, well, that's the color they are. So then I've gone through and used a brown, and I've done this for all the wooden bits of their weapons and that sort of stuff. And I will do it for some shields and other bits. So the first colors I normally use when speed painting or batch painting, I try and use colors that I know are going to be used in all of them. This just makes it easy. It gets a lot of paint on the miniatures, nice and quick, so you can see how things are going. And then obviously, then you start using certain colors for, well, individual miniatures. Um, but yeah, so this way of painting, especially as I say, I really love these miniatures. They've sent me say a few of these little blister packs. I think that's what they're called. But you can buy like bigger boxes that have full armies. I'll say full armies. You get about 60 miniatures, I think, in some of the boxes, which is pretty cool. But then obviously you can make bigger armies up. So it works on obviously the point system. You have say 600 points. So does your opponent, and then with those points you then buy or use that to make your army up. But obviously you could then have a 1200 point army or even bigger, which would be pretty cool because then you really are then talking big armies, which would look amazing. So with these miniatures, yeah, I'm using probably my favorite of these speed paints. So that I have said this previously in other videos, with the army painted speed paints, some of the paints don't sort of work as well as others. There's not many, but there's a few that go on and they're quite flat. They don't have this sort of high contrast look. So with these miniatures, I'm definitely making sure I'm using my favorites. Obviously, definitely using one of my favorite greens, and now I'm using my favorite red because, as you can see, yeah, when this pools, it is definitely nice and dark. But then obviously on the raised areas, yeah, it's nice and well brighter and lighter. So even with these, obviously, if you wanted to, you could use the speed paints as a nice way of sort of basing them and then go over and do some highlighting and that sort of stuff. I have done that in the past. I'm not very good at doing highlights. I kind of make a bit of a mess of it, to be honest. So that's generally why now I do just stick with speed paints. Even though in the past I always said, yeah, I'm going to do speed paints as a sort of a start, and then I'm going to do highlights afterwards. Whenever I do highlights, yeah, it really isn't worth it. It doesn't enhance the miniatures, or not mine anyway. You might have better experience of doing that. But for me, yeah, I'm sticking with just getting the speed paints on and then calling it job done because they certainly are tabletop ready and look absolutely great for the board. So this little brush, yeah, I think this is where, guys, you don't need expensive gear. Obviously, if you're going to be a pro and you want a brush to last for years, then yeah. This little brush, I'm probably not going to get too many uses out of it because I'm sure the bristles or whatever they're called just seem to be getting longer. As in, I'm sure they were coming out of the little tube that they're in, and I'm sure if I was to wash this in warm water, yeah, they would all just fall out. But yeah, certainly this brush is good enough to get me this miniatures or these miniatures painted, and I reckon it'll certainly do enough to do an army. But say the fact that I bought, I'm sure there's about 30 of them in a pack, absolutely dirt cheap, and yeah, they work fine, or they work fine in the hands of a I don't know what I'd call myself. Am I I'm more than a beginner painter. Well, I like to hope I am. I guess I'm an intermediate, somewhere in the middle. Yeah, I don't know, but I think I'm at an area where I know I'm not going to get any better, but that's fine because where I'm at is definitely happy enough for me. And yeah, absolutely love it. So even like these small little lapels on this dude, there's a nice little detail in there, so the paints are pooling in the right place. And yeah, so these miniatures, honestly, guys, the fact that these have been hand sculpted, so these aren't 3D modeled or whatever, these are hand sculpted and then resin casted. And the look on them is just, it's absolutely insane. Yeah, I don't know how they do it. I'd love to see them obviously making the miniatures, that's for sure. That'd be pretty cool. So prior to being contacted by Spellcrow in regards to painting these little miniatures, I had actually heard of them before because, well, I don't know, about 3, 4 years ago maybe, I'd actually bought some parts from them, obviously orc parts, as they do some great conversion kits. So I know I bought some orc heads. I think they might have been pirate ones. So yeah, they do a whole range of miniatures and obviously additional bits for customization of your own sort of your own miniatures. But I say this game, Argatoria, I'm definitely going to give it a little looking into, as in I am going to see if I can get some more orc miniatures to make up a full army, as well as getting an opposition for them, because these do look like a lot of fun to play with. And I say having a huge big army would be great. So yeah, painted the bases all green, as I am going to be putting some like the old little fake tufts of grass on there. But I wanted it to be a nice sort of dark colour, so if there was any gaps, you wouldn't sort of see any of the base sort of shining through. And then it is a case of going around and just sort of tidying up some areas. So they've got these little spiky bits. So yeah, we'll have them looking like they're little bits of metal. So guys, if you've never painted 10mm before, and you've always worried about the fact that it is teeny tiny, yeah, I would certainly say give it a go. Just get a couple of little miniatures and see what you can do. I always thought I'd have a lot of problems with these, but if anything, I can necessarily say I found it easier to do these than the bigger ones. You certainly use less paint, which is cool. It is just a case of, say, just loading the brush up with a little bit less paint and not going too crazy. Otherwise, you will get paint just going everywhere. But yeah, so these guys are nearly done. Last few sort of touches here and there. Just going to go around. Well, I'm going to clean up their teeth and their nails, even though you will see me in a minute go around with a wash just to dirty them all up again. But at least we're going to start with clean teeth before we get any messier. And again, even putting little bits of paint on for the teeth, yeah, no real problem there. So good old wash. So the wash is primarily for any bits that I want to make look like bone. So they're obviously the white bits, plus the metallic colors. Yeah, sometimes there's not really a lot of definition in those. So I do like sort of chucking a wash on. Obviously, it adds a bit more definition and contrast, but it also goes into sort of nooks and crannies, makes the things look a little bit more weathered. And obviously, I'm saying this in all my videos. Whenever I paint things, I like my miniatures to look a little bit sort of beaten, bashed, used. And they're definitely not walking out with nice, clean armor or clean weapons. Yeah, they've seen a little bit of action. And the good thing with the wash is it doesn't matter if the wash goes a little bit over the rest of the miniature, it just sort of fades in really nice. So the eyes, yeah, painted the eyes red. I couldn't do that and film it because that is a case of I have these miniatures really close to my face. So yeah, I was unable to show you me painting the eyes because, well, there was no room. Or it'd be a picture or video of my face real close, and yeah, no one wants to see that. So there we go. They're pretty much done. It's just a case of, say, adding a little bit of this fake grass. So this is a mixture of, every time I get a new grass, I just chuck it in this thing, mix it all up. But again, I think that just helps because it's almost like doing like the contrast paints. There's a whole variety of grasses in there, different shades, different looks and textures. And yeah, it's just a simple, easy way of basing. So I use this basing for my board as well. Obviously, a great video shot of the back of my hand. You can't really see what's going on, but obviously I've just dipped it in the stuff. So then we get a little bit more grass, and yeah, we'll just squeeze it on. So very simple basing, but this is again how I like the things to look. Obviously, simple basing is definitely better than no basing. So obviously got the miniatures. Yeah, I 3D printed a little board. Again, little magnets in there because I absolutely love magnets. Nice and simple. but obviously a great way of putting loads of miniatures together, so you can move your army around in just sort of one tray, which is pretty cool. And they all fit in there nice and snug, and hopefully the grass sort of gives it the effect that you can't really see the bases, even though you kind of can. But yeah, absolutely love these. So guys, don't forget, check out the links down below to Spellcrow's sort of main site, as well as their Argatoria. And check out, say, the PDF if you want to have a quick look to see the kind of the gameplay, bit of history about the game, and obviously take a look at the other sort of the other armies uh, um, that you can get, because there's certainly some cool looking ones there. There's certainly some chunky sort of barbarian looking ones that I want to get. Yeah, guys, you're probably going to see another video or two of me painting these miniatures because I absolutely love them. And the fact, obviously, you get the little grunts, but then you get the hero classes, which will obviously have more abilities, especially these two little mages here. I can imagine them throwing some fireballs around the pitch. And then obviously just some chunky dudes with some big armor and some big weapons. So guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave a like down below, leave a comment, say, especially if you play this game. Yeah, I'll be interested to know what you think of it, because I'm definitely going to be taking a better look at this game and say, get some more miniatures and have a go, just because it looks pretty awesome. And say the scale, loving this scale, because obviously with terrain as well, it means printing smaller terrain out, making small terrain, but then storing it, making it a lot easier to store a lot of terrain for these sort of dudes. And the big chaps, yeah, not forgetting these from the game Argatoria. Yeah, these look just amazing as well. So I'm going to take another look at that as well. But this is where I need to be careful, because as you all know, I get very hooked very easily on games. And something new comes out, or not new, but new to me, I take a little look, I get absolutely hooked, and then I go mad, getting tons of miniatures, tons of terrain, and just basically bombarding you with loads of videos of that one thing, which I just can't help myself. I say when it comes to orcs, yeah, I'm easily swayed anyway, because I absolutely love the look of these green skins. So guys, another video coming up on the screen. Check that out as well. Check out all the links down below. And say a big thank you to Spellcrow for sending me the miniatures and for sponsoring this channel. It certainly is much appreciated. So guys, go check out some of their stuff and send some love their way. Okay guys, click the video. I'm going, because I'm going to keep waffling, and this video is going to be another 10 minutes long. All right guys, you take care. Bye now.